No, running shows is tiring. Everybody being live on video, it takes a lot of energy.
There's a lot of live. Did you hear Joseph Jaffe's show, Corona TV, is changing to a new time?
Did.
12 p.m. Eastern, so it's going to be lunch times now. That's cool. Do you know, it's so fun having, being part of this early pioneering stage of this weird TV network, or this wave of a pioneering stage, don't you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's sort of like, hey, everybody, there's no business right now. What are we going to do? Let's do a show.
Videos.
Sort of what happened.
Where's Marcus? Where's LGO? I haven't even just checked in just lately.
So. Hi, Chloe.
Hey, Chloe. Yeah. Happy post-Halloween. Michelle. Happy post-Day of the Dead as well. Hope everyone's had a great time.
You're talking to each other. I love you.
Did you dress up as anything special for Halloween?
No, I wasn't in the mood this year. I did last year. This year I didn't.
The Chillins, did they have some costumes?
So my son dressed as if you play Among Us, it's like that sort of older kind of game people are like now all the kids are into because some YouTuber streamed it, but he dressed as a blue one, so he was able to wear that he does like riding therapy once a week, and so he had his riding helmet with a visor and it's blue, and then he had his whole like blue whatever thing. He looked sus. That's what he kept saying.
He was blue and he's very sus. Hi, LinkedIn user who didn't tell StreamYard who you are, so I don't know how to tell Brett you said hi.
Well, we can just say somebody said hi.
Someone said hi, Brett. Some very, very protective, private LinkedIn user.
So running online events, we do just us and guests, and sometimes all of you on the Backpack Show, which we love because we just did that on Friday. But running a whole event like with actual speakers and an agenda and all this other kind of stuff, it's a whole other can of worms. So.
Wait till I tell you about when Brett Tabke invited me to my first Pubcon versus the one I got invited to right before the world ended. Backpack Show.
I am back in the studio, Frederick Faulkner.
That's right. Look at that. Being called, Scott Stratton. No wonder you're hiding. Scott Stratton says hi to you, Brett.
He's not hiding. He just doesn't.
No, I don't know. The app just doesn't know who you are. The app does that sometimes. And hi, Linda.
Thing I've been called today. That's probably the nicest thing I've been called ever. Hi, Michelle.
Coffee time break show. Hey, Michelle. I like that we're at your coffee time break. So Brett Tabke invited me to speak at Pubcon in 2009 with Julian Smith timeframe, right as Trust Agents came out. I believe that was the first one. He might have invited me to 08, and I might be remembering the story wrong, but it's my show.
Hi. Father's here.
It's my dad, my loving father dad. Why would you call him that? But Brett invited me, and what I felt like when I was saying yes to Pubcon was in a way coming into a den of wolves. Because you have to understand, shows like Brett's are, and he also runs Webmaster World, but Pubcon, we'll ask him to give the origin story. Pubcon is a show where people come like murderers. They come like, we need these details, and we don't want any fluff, and we don't, like Imagine Dragons is never going to play at Pubcon. It's never going to happen.
So you mean the organizers want you to know, they want to know that you actually have a point before you present, is that what you're saying?
A lot of grilling. There's going to be a lot of real value. And these people are like, well, if I don't understand how to get backlinks from this, I'm not even talking to you people. It's crazy. And so here I wrote a book called Trust Agents with Julian Smith, which is like, la, 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 la.
What's it like?
It was like that. La, 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 la. So, hello, Mom. And so that's how it went. So I'm going to bring in Brett, and we're going to talk it all over.
Chloe went back and watched us play Loaded Questions on Friday.
Well, there you go. I'm glad you watched it in the reverse. Hi, Leslie. Hi, everybody else. All right. Brett, how the heck are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I'm doing great. You talked at Pubcon in Austin with Guy Kawasaki. You interviewed Guy Kawasaki.
Oh, that was that one. That was the one where we did the fireside chat one.
Right. Wasn't that the first one? I think that was the first.
I might have. I think I gave another one too.
Yeah. Oh, it was a great time. That was a great time with Guy. He went on. We just had him, a year ago. Guy was our keynote for, I think, the 6th time. So,
wow.
Oh, love Guy Kawasaki.
You get a jacket or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 6-timer club.
Like a sash.
That's interesting to me. I mean, is that fair to say about your crowd? I mean, when I go to Pubcon, I feel like it's a bunch of very serious people. They're nice and they like to have fun, but they're serious.
Yeah, we have a lot of small businesses, guys who run their own agencies, run affiliate sites. And they do take it very, very seriously, and they come out to learn all the latest stuff. They know we're known worldwide as the SEO conference. We're most advanced. It's guys that are down turning wrenches on websites and guys who are running bigger agencies. So yeah, our attendees do take it serious. They absolutely do. So
now you have fallen right into the dead middle of everything, just like the rest of the world. In fact, my last almost chance to get on a plane and speak was because I messaged you and said, hey, I just realized that there's probably a lot of speakers canceling because of this silliness going on. This is February. I said, I'm not that worried. I'll get on a plane. Where do you need me? And you said, yeah, come on over. And that was it. The world blew up. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about like the business of running actual in-person, face-to-face, decent-sized events. Your events are not tiny. And then just how crazy it's been the last few months for this shift.
Oh, yeah. When we canceled our Florida show that you were coming to in March, we all thought we'd flatten the curve, stem the tide, do whatever we needed to do and be back in business by middle of summer, probably. And that was what the guidance was coming from all the meeting planners associations and conference associations. So we canceled the spring, and then we started retooling for summer. And of course, summer came and went. And then in August, we started retooling for Vegas. And I was convinced we were going to be live in Vegas in the middle of October. Absolutely convinced. And we spent a ton of money. I'm fortunate enough to be married to a doctor of nursing who teaches nursing at University of Texas. And she helped us sit down and lay out a plan of social distancing, proper spacing, not the 6-foot stuff, more like 10 foot. And we were going to do it in the big outdoors of the convention center, use the actual show floor instead of using the meeting rooms to keep people a little further apart, better airflow.
Give everybody a bubble.
Yeah, pretty much. And then we got shut down by the convention center middle of August, and I let the rest of my staff go the next day, which was
awful.
Worst day of my business career. And so then we had to reset, and resetting was difficult for virtual. Finally deciding to go virtual, obviously, this was going to take much longer than we thought early on. I had a huge resistance to go into video. I know you guys feel like you're blazing a trail here, getting into.
You guys just feel lucky to be awake right now, and I don't know about everybody else.
Right. Well, in 2008, 2009, we spent a boatload of money trying to get a video play going, a video show going on YouTube, early YouTube. It was just early. There was just no path to monetization. Cameras were expensive. We spent several $100,000 plus salaries to do this.
Well, if you want to give me that much now, I'll do it for you.
And we nothing out of it. Nothing trackable out of it.
Nothing came back.
Rick needs to know why your bookshelf is empty, Brett.
I'm getting ready to toss my entire office. This was a setup we had for a conference we had a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to reset it. I rent a business condo that happens to have a fireplace, so I'm going to reset everything. So I'm moving it into the next room, the foyer where there's a fireplace, and I'm going to set up in front of the fireplace. So I cleaned the bookshelf off to move it out there.
Move it out there. Awesome. So you were just in the middle of saying about your, having to jump to virtual, having those things. You also talked about the investment back in the day, and it's funny because I had some business partners right at that same time frame who said we're going to put $1 million into video. I said, well, then you're going to lose $1 million. It was just a very different time, and they did it right. They put up all the sets. They hired all kinds of talent. They got the right kind of tech people to do the editing, just like you did, I'm sure. You just got done running a virtual event a couple weeks ago. And no tech is perfect. Never is any tech perfect, but it ran. What's your feedback? What's your good and bad of it? What's your thought on virtual events? Give everybody a bit of a run.
Well, for us, trying to do a conference in a live setting like this, it's just getting people to set through it, and it's too long. They get tired. So we made the choice early on to record ahead of time and then play most sessions. Keynotes we did live. A few panels we did live, but mostly we had speakers record it, and then they were on hand to answer questions live. So that worked okay. But all the feedback we've gotten from the convention services, we belong to all the associations, all the meeting planners, people won't set through it that long. So we're going to do some more things. We're going to try and be a little more interactive next time. So we're going to switch over to Zoom, straight up Zoom. Where you can see people, they can see you. It's much more intimate setting. Now, I've been to some conferences. In fact, I was one, I'll even call them out, Inbound. a couple months ago. And it was these little avatars running around on the screen, which sounds cool. It's like, hey, it's a video game. No, it's not a video game. It's just kind of childlike. You walk around these little avatars and you meet somebody and you walk into their virtual booth, and just didn't work for me. Didn't work for me at all. And I hear their drop off was quite rapid towards the end of the conference.
Not everybody's cup of tea, that's for sure.
Right. So that's kind of where we are. That's kind of, I've heard good, bad, and indifferent on virtual, but I just don't think virtual is where anybody wants it to be now. I hear Kerry was talking about Adobe Max, which I'd also read some scuttlebutt was very good. So
the scuttlebutt was correct.
Yeah.
So Adobe has for a long time kind of pulled out all the stops for what is essentially a user conference when you think about it, but it turned into, this is like the creative conference. So you've got just a lot of creative people from all different types of organizations. And when they come together for any kind of event, it can't be like business as usual, a bunch of business stuff, because you'll lose them like on day one. So it had to be spectacular. Mm-hmm. When they went online, they knew like they had a very steep curve to get from live, which was like a spectacular to a virtual event that was going to keep somebody's attention for 2 days. So what they ended up doing was, pre-recording talks, which I understand you did too, with like really high production value, really gorgeous looking, really good content. And then the person would join and they'd have like a watch party. And the speaker could answer questions and stuff like that. So how has that worked for you? I know at Marketing Profs, we've done that same thing and found that people actually quite like having the speaker able to answer their questions immediately as they arise and not have to like kind of try to remember, 15 minutes from the end what their question was.
Absolutely. And one thing we really noticed was people were there's a small percentage that were very adamant about having questions answered. There was another percentage that just didn't ask any questions. We didn't have quite as much interactivity as we wanted, having speakers there live to answer questions. But for the most part, it worked. And I wish I had Adobe's budget and their incredible community of Adobe Photoshop and Premiere and Illustrator people to put on a production value like that. But looking at what you guys are doing with Streamyard is just fantastic. What you can do for even a little money these days. So.
Right. Just a little talent. You had mentioned that you had to let a lot of people go, obviously, because live events weren't happening. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite things about financial reports. Probably the only thing I like about it is the little asterisk at the bottom where they're like, probably not going to be significant. They'll be like this, like we're in the middle of big litigation. We don't know what's going to happen, but the asterisk at the bottom will be like, well, we're pretty sure, like it's no big deal. Right. I feel like everybody treated COVID that way towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year. But so my question for you is, you had to let a lot of people go. Now that you're virtual, do you need to hire different people with different skill sets, or can you bring some of those people back?
It really is going to take a different skill set, because now we need tech people, we need video people, where before we needed logistics people, contractors, people that would sit down and figure out how to do name tags for 2,000 people. Now we don't need to do that. We need to know how to do video titling and camera setup and work with individual speakers. One thing that we were super surprised about going virtual was how much work we had to do with speakers just on the tech end to make sure everything worked. I'm sure you guys see it with your show all the time. Somebody comes in, they got a plug in, blocking the camera, mic, and it takes a while to get it fixed up. So yeah, it's going to take a different skill set than we had.
Chris's mom loves Guy Kawasaki. I have to mention that.
Oh yeah,
one of the nicest people.
Everybody agrees. I guess Paul agrees. Trying to figure out if that's what that means.
Or he's thinking he has echo, but which means he probably has two tabs open.
Well, and so Rick is saying that his question about the bookshelf actually is relevant because you were talking about transitions. So I have to agree there.
Yeah, the year. I'm calling this the year of the big pivot for everybody.
I can't even listen to the word pivot without going like, I'm not triggered, but like I don't react well. Michelle said Friday went to a live event put on using Remo and was engaging and well done. Or Michelle said.
And Nancy saw the cat's butt.
Congratulations. You get the coveted cat butt badge.
That's her ear right there too. She's come up with a new set of tricks. So this cat and I are not friends, but we're roommates, I guess, right now. So she's come up with two new tricks. She figured out she can move this boom mic with her head. And she can also move my camera. So anyway, not related to business whatsoever. Scott says, One of the biggest mistakes during this is that the industry was speakers assuming that virtual was easy. You know, I want to talk to that one. Speakers need a new skill set as well. I've seen there's sort of three modes. There's a lot of people just acting like, what's the big deal? I'll just open my laptop lid, look straight down with the light glowing behind me. Like every visual thing you could get wrong in trying to look like a presenter. So that's number one. Number two, there are people who are trying to recreate the Tony Robbins setup at their house, you know, where they've got like the wall of 800 cams and 65 transition cams. And
yeah, it looks like the Matrix. Sorry for the 20-year-old spoiler alert.
Full pro, yeah. Number three are people who are just trying to do their best to make their version of themselves show up on screen, which would be a me kind of speaker. Like, you're not going to get super fancy with me, like, hello, here it is. But I think that there's a place for that high production value, and I think that there's no place for the no production value. How's that been like running an event, Brett?
I was at a show. God, I don't remember who it was, but there was a speaker who had a basket of laundry clearly on his dresser behind him. It was clearly a basket of dirty.
Was it at least clean? No, it's dirty.
And, I wouldn't have thought twice about it, but he was a keynote. And, you think about how our perceptions have changed over this year. Remember last year, there was that guy on British, I think he was on the BBC being interviewed. Right. And his kid wanders into his office.
That was the best. He doesn't just wander in. Kid's like,
that got 100,000 shares on Facebook and tons of tweets and retweets. Today, that wouldn't even make a share. Nobody'd even bother because our perceptions of what quality is and what it isn't have changed. I just think the word for virtual is authentic. Show up, be yourself. It doesn't matter what's in the background or the foreground. So we tell speakers just to make sure it's nice, don't go out of your way. No,
but move the laundry basket.
Yeah, no green screens unless
How hard
you
is
have a laundry
that?
basket behind you.
Oh, the green screen. They're not good for much except breaking, for like making it look awkward.
Right.
Rex wants to know how many retakes happen for speakers.
We had them record on their own, actually using Zoom at home, so that they could record to their own computer and then weren't dependent on the network connection, Wi-Fi or something, Dropbox downloading or anything. So there weren't any bandwidth issues at all. And that worked excellent. And we didn't ask them how many times did it take. They just sent us the file.
Did you coach them at all beforehand? Like, hey, raise your laptop up so we're not taking a journey up your nose. Like, what kind of stuff did you tell them?
We had about a 10-point checklist for them. And a lot of people were surprised at the things on the checklist. And so they jumped on board real quick, but it wasn't too bad.
I just noticed that one thing is that what Chip says, we're using the word virtual in two different ways. So one way of virtual event comes from like those 90s horrendous events that tried to pretend to be like Second Life and like early 2002, 3, those like video avatars and all that. But virtual events, of course, are video events now too. People aren't necessarily availing of the video event format so well when they're making their virtual events. And they're also forgetting that there still has to have all those other facets of running an event have to exist. We still have to have conversations in hallways. The reason Pubcon is called Pubcon, we're going to talk Webmaster World in a bit. The reason it's Pubcon was because that needed to be part of it, that like, let's get a beer and talk about things kind of thing. So how are you trying to bring that to your virtual events as well?
We had a bunch of Zoom happy hours that we brought in, had some breakouts. We had them 4 or 5 weeks in a row. A couple with attendees, mostly with speakers. They'd love to get together. COVID, we're a big family. So we try and bring that intimacy in where people can introduce themselves, talk a little bit. Then we had happy hours every night after the conference.
That must have been such a burden for you.
Well, you're
like, oh, here we go again.
6 a.m. to 5 at night, it's kind of hard to, okay, I got another hour to do it.
You really need that margarita at that point.
Right. So
for sure.
We're trying, Chris. We're not trying to recreate it. We know we'll never get there, but that's part of our switch to using Zoom is to bring that intimacy back where people can talk face to face. So
Mike's here, by the way. Mike is a person in our space as well. You might know Mike McCallan. He helps a lot of people put together, their on-site presence, how it helps people jazz up their stuff. So it's clearly a topic that matters to some people. We're going to do just a wee bit of sponsor love because we need to do that sort of a thing. We are sponsored by Streamyard. We have the opportunity to make our own conference every single day. You could pretend that we've got 100 guest sponsor show so far. So Streamyard is how we can make a show like this. Even Brett, who just got done running a conference, went, wow, so this is Streamyard. So
yeah, it's so easy.
Not an endorsement, but you gotta look around. It's easy. See brogan.me/StreamYard. You can make your own conference right at home. All right. Authors, you want to make a website? Well, I can't tell you an easier way to do it. You can go to Wix. You can drag some stuff around. It just won't do what you need it to do as an author. It'll just look like something. You could try all the free stuff. You can spend $4,000 getting a designer to make you an author site, and then you have to convince that designer to come back to you and actually help you. But what can you do with Pubsite?
So Pubsite's super, super easy. You've written the book, which is the hard part. You really need a website to promote yourself as an author, to promote the book. And nobody knows better what an author needs on their website than FSB Associates, which is the premier book publicity firm. They've been in business 25 years. They created Pubsite to make it super easy for authors to just kind of put together their website in like an hour or two. It's super easy. They've got all the pieces in place. If you really can't even be bothered to do that, you just want them to do it, they will do it for you. It's less than $500, $499 to have them put your website together for you, which is crazy. But if you decide you want to do it yourself, there's a 14-day free trial. And after that, it's just $19.99 a month to have your own author website to promote your book.
I'm not even paying $19.99 for mine, so I feel like maybe I should just be an author and go on Pubsite.
You are an author. You should go on Pubsite.
Oh, I should probably write some books. All right, one of these. Hey, we got one more. Len, I can't remember when we're supposed to be over, so you get it. You get today for sure. Len Joy has a book called Letting Go that are stories that he wrote in and around the time he was writing all his other big works of fiction.
Award-winning sports fiction books.
Yeah. So this book, Letting Go, has a lot of variety in it, of course, because it's stories. Now, listen, you can get this baby for 99 cents because Len set that up. So you just go to cbrogan.me/letgo, pick up the book for 99 cents. And now here's the secret. If you're feeling like I am and you just haven't quite really wanted to turn pages, digital or otherwise, you can just email lenjoy7@gmail.com after you've picked up that book for 99 cents. He'll give you the audiobook for free. He's probably running out of those at this point, but you can still get one.
I mean, he can narrate a new one for you.
Yeah. I'll just read the book to you a little bit at a time, but it'll take
Len was on the show a couple months ago. He's such an interesting guy. So anyway, his stories reflect his experiences, which are varied and very interesting. So go get this book.
Yeah.
You want it.
So we're going to dig back into Brett. Brett's back here, but I do want to answer.
Linda loves StreamYard.
She does. Thank you, Linda. Mike said something that I didn't know. Mike said, hey, Chris, I left the meeting and events world mostly before COVID hit. I didn't know that. So he's just pure podcast now and membership-based organization. So Brett, you've seen a little bit of that.
You, Mike.
Brett, you've seen a bit of that though. You've seen people kind of have to shift where they're going to do some of their marketing budget, at least, which is hard because you count on that marketing budget to run a show. So are you thinking anything like that? Are you thinking you're going to start making some media products, or are you doing that and I'm just not aware of it? Or what's your thoughts about that?
We're getting started. That last conference we did in October, we recorded everything, even though the speakers pre-recorded, and then we're on hand live for Q&A. We went ahead and recorded the whole show, and now we're selling that as a package as well. We got a show coming up the first week of December, Cyber Monday, Black Friday conference we're doing, kind of focusing on e-commerce, but mostly on small businesses. So we're going to pivot a bit more away from pure marketing. I don't think SEO is dead by any means, but it's not what it used to be. No,
it's got all new terms now. Nobody was searching for face masks like 6 months ago.
Right. So we're definitely going to shift, and we're going to see where it goes, Chris. We're going to keep producing these virtual conferences and events, and that obviously leads us into either educational space or online education, online classes of some type that speakers really want to be involved with. So there's demand out there. We've got the product. We're moving forward. So we're going to see where it goes,
How do you screen speakers differently than you did before when you had a live event? Like Rick is saying, as a speaker speaking just to a camera or a microphone, it's such a different skill than in person. Right. See, I'm a mom. I'm used to talking to people who aren't looking at me or listening to me all the time.
And
So
it's a different vibe too when they're sitting at home in front of their laptop recording something versus being in front of a large audience. It's an entirely different vibe for the speakers. We noticed speakers bloom at this last conference we had that were fairly nervous or kind of bland in person. They were a bit more reserved, where they just let themselves go on camera, and vice versa was also true, where people were a bit more sedate, a little more slower in their talking. Good friend Joe Laratro did a training for us, a workshop. Normally he does it in 3 hours. Well, he ended up producing almost 4.5 hours of content for us. so we had to figure out what to do with all this extra content that he recorded for us. And we ran into that speaker after speaker after speaker. Just the little nervous fear wasn't there to help them talk a little faster. So
what about the tendency to script? Like, I know I've seen people who give really excellent live webinars, and then when they submitted a recording, it was awful.
Yeah.
Because they clearly had scripted it and were reading it.
Yeah. And we had some people that would read across the screen, and we you could see their eyes moving back and forth as they read. And then we had some cool tech too. We had a guy from Microsoft that gave a PowerPoint, screen shared his PowerPoint, and then at the bottom of PowerPoint he had Cortana translating his live voice. So he had his own subtitles going on during the talk. It was awesome, and we got it all recorded. Cool. Several people have come back and said, "How do you do that? How do you do that?" Well, I want to do that. So
we had a deaf author on, Karen Putz, and she was running rev.com behind the scenes, because we had our other guest was a dominatrix who doesn't do video interviews. So her camera was off. So for all of us to talk together, that's what she put together. I mean, we were typing too on the back end, but technology it's just going. I think it's exponentially sped up, that type of technology, this whole situation that we find ourselves in right now.
It's really modernized since COVID started. Like what you guys are doing, 9 months ago, this would have been pretty tough to do. You could have done it, but certainly not this easy. And the number of virtual conference sites and platforms that are out there now, just exploding every day. Every day I get somebody new, and they've got a long thread on the Meeting Planners Association of just new platforms coming out. Just every day there's one more. I
want to go back to the exhibitor side for a second, and we can talk Chip's comment for a quick second. The thing is that every event is a bit different. Motivations, including networking, buying, selling, learning. The hardest are those depending on or wanting travel junkets, for sure. Yeah. That's a little tricky, but trade show events. So neither of your events are exactly a trade show, but they certainly loan to that concept of sponsors, exhibitors, and all that. If it's that triangle. Great content draws the right attendees. The right attendees are the ones that the sponsors want to give money to, or, and get sales from. Mm-hmm. So have you found it hard? Does your sales team? Did you have to switch your sales team because this is a different sell? Is it that different, or how did you feel about it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's entirely different. In one way, it's easier because they understand it's mainly advertising. It's not in-person selling. So some of the people, they found it very, very easy to get involved and be involved. They didn't have to send a staff. They didn't have to do travel, all of that stuff. They didn't need to spend that kind of money. And then there's another crew, the higher sponsor list, that depend on that booth traffic, that they want to show those demos, that they kind of had a hard time. So we try and have sponsored sessions for those people that they can do the demos, but obviously there's just nobody out there yet who has perfected how to do any type of online clone of an exhibit hall. It just doesn't quite work yet. So we're not there.
I mean, so it can be done, but it's a lot more effective usually if people who have kind of an axe to grind do a presentation about some related thing, like we all know, right? And then people inevitably will ask about tools at some point. That always comes up. And so there is a natural opportunity in a sponsored thing for them to talk about their tools and even show them somewhat. People will tolerate a little bit of that. But in my experience, you need a whole lot of sugar to make that medicine go down. So,
well, one of the neat things about exhibiting, we exhibited South by Southwest, Hosting Con, bunch of other conferences related to us. We would exhibit every year. And the one thing that kept coming back to us over and over was you get your pitch down real quick. You'll find out what resonates with people, what moves people. So I highly recommend exhibiting in person if you're a small business, because it'll change the way you run your business. You'll get more out of it than you'll sell. So.
You said something that surprised me when we were kind of setting up the links and everything for this particular show. By the way, hi, Coach Woodard. I didn't directly say hi to you. You mentioned that you're bringing Webmaster World back out sort of to the fore. Like it didn't go anywhere, but you're putting some shine on it. I had not been by webmasterworld.com in a bit, nor have you, it turns. So that site makes me think a lot of some advice I got from Syed Balki, who does WP Beginner and all that. And Syed. Mm-hmm. Syed said to me one time, you think because you're who you are that a pretty site is what people want. He said ugly sites sell better. You win. Webmaster World's pretty ugly. Want to talk about bringing that brand forward and what that means? It's true. Look at it. Go to webmasterworld.com.
We can't all be Facebook, but that is one of the changes we're making. How Facebook pulls in a featured image from whatever you're linked to. Set that up a week ago. We really took some body shots from the social media crowd, from Twitter, Facebook, just year after year after year as they forums across the web took hits. And then along come a little update at Google called the Panda Update, which they decided they knew quality better than the rest of the internet. And they pretty much knocked every forum down. It wasn't a penalty, but they clearly didn't like forums anymore. And our traffic went from anywhere from 120 to 150,000 referrals from Google a day down to about 10,000 after Panda. So it was.
I'm going to bury you under a comment.
Mike says a friend of mine owns a company that does a team building through music. They build a song with the attendee. They did this live before with studio musicians. They're doing much better now as they found it works really well online. He told me they did 30 events in October. That's pretty amazing.
Wow.
Sorry, I was hoping you could see over the top there, but.
Nah.
And Jane actually said she went to an online event that actually she liked the exhibit hall. She said she was able to go around and say hi to everybody, just like she would have in person.
And they didn't know who you were, so you're able to run away quickly. And
Right. Those are out there, and I think that's where the little avatars work the best. Is when you're on a virtual booth to walk in and talk to people. We tried it. We had exhibitors set up Zoom boxes where you want to chat with them, just you click and boom, Zoom pops up and there you are, interactive personally. And we get some pretty strong negative feedback about that because attendees were surprised that, that's actually a human being. They thought that it was going to be a little avatar. So, but avatars work great for the virtual trade shows. The ones I've been to, that's the only place I really think avatars work is in that environment. So.
Chip had a question. What's the role of true keynotes in this new world? Are more practical panels or talks a bigger draw when you're not already a captive audience?
Well, the keynote brings the entire audience together for a little while to hear the same thing, to experience the same thing, to hear what some speaker has to say. Keynotes are usually, I call them blue sky events. You don't necessarily have to talk about anything, but you can talk about direction, leadership, vision, inspiration, and humor. We have Scott Stratton out. I don't know if Scott's in the 6-timer club. I bet he is with Guy Kawasaki.
He gets a jacket. You get a jacket. You get a jacket. You get a jacket.
So, and the humor of Scott Stratton, it just sets the tone for the entire conference. I can't imagine doing a conference without a keynote. In fact, we're trying to figure out how to get more keynotes into our conferences.
Like an all keynote conference, like Muffin Top.
Well, some of them are single speaker tracks, one speaker, one slot. That's what we did mainly for our last virtual conference was one speaker, one slot. And it seemed to work pretty good. The panels I've been to, whereas this is working real good, Streamyard is working excellent for this. A lot of the platforms don't work this good, bringing in everybody, glitches here, glitches there. So,
we love it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, we're getting towards the part where we're going to ask you some questions about what goes in your backpack and all that. But first, we're going to do Person of the Day, sponsored by Pubsite, pub-site.com. Person of the Day. I'm going to do His Highness, the franchise king, who had to leave, by the way. He had to take his dog Bear out for a walk.
He wouldn't even know.
He's not even going to know unless someone tells him. So it's Joel Labava. And by the way, that makes I save on an apple. Now I don't have to FedEx him an apple.
You don't have to not FedEx him an apple.
That's right. That's the best. That's the best. So Brett Tabke, we have the question that we ask everybody on the show, which is what goes in your backpack? Can be something real world and physical, and it can be something metaphorical. We've had some answers in the past, a real dilly, but very curious to know.
I've been rewatching The Newsroom, with Jeff Daniels, and just
Love
an
that.
outstanding show. And there's a couple of lines in there, Aaron Sorkin, just what a brilliant writer who wrote West Wing. I think the thing I put in my backpack these days is probably my stopwatch. And that is, so I can time myself on how long it takes me to do the right thing every time, where I don't have to think about it too long. I just know what the right thing is and we do it. So I don't manage by cowboy management, but
What's cowboy management, Brett?
where you just make a snap decision. It's basically like shake the magic 8-ball and you're gonna do this, and do that. But I'm at an age where I'm a little wiser than I used to be, and I tend to know the right thing instantly. So
in fairness, cowboys don't have a lot of time to make those decisions.
So yeah, a stopwatch goes in my backpack.
I like it. I'm into it. Mike says, Brett, do you find that speaker writers now include a pants or no pants clause for their virtual events?
We know for a fact we had some of those, but I've seen so many keynotes where, we talked about the dirty laundry, but I saw a keynote the other day. He was in t-shirt. So
yeah, but come on, a lot of guys can dress for keynotes like that. It's different for women, to be honest. Like, you got to dress up.
But if you go to a business conference, you're going to get dressed in business.
You want to be a little more businessy.
Are we, Chris? Do we dress up?
We don't, but people do. I mean, I see a sports coat over there. I guess I could put that on sometimes. It'd be weird. Linda points out, by the way, the new Aaron Sorkin, if you haven't dug into it, the Trial of the Chicago 7 on Netflix is amazing. I didn't know much about that trial beforehand, but obviously right now in American history, it is a time to revisit watching that. It's a piece of work. It has nothing to do with us, but we were agreeing on our
West Wing, but I just found it too depressing given the current situation.
It's not really great escapism, No.
It used to be a great escapism. Today it's just reality in your face.
Well, that's like, you can't really watch House of Cards, Kevin notwithstanding. It's just that show got nothing right about how evil people could be, maybe. Anyway, all right. I don't talk politics with anyone but my grandmother, and I'll tell you who my grandmother would vote for tomorrow.